Yeah, let me show you what's going on here. Right, good morning, everyone, or afternoon or evening, is it where you are, Jeff?
Look, it's in betwixt afternoon and evening. You'd call it drive time here in Australia.
Oh, okay.
Driving home from work, poor little bastards. Buggers, I mean people. I'm so pleased I don't have that sort of a job. That would be horrible.
Oh, yeah, I
Shuffling
completely
traffic.
agree.
Although here in Tassie, it's like peak hour lasts for 5 minutes and there's 10 cars on the road instead of one, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I kind of think with one of the benefits of not having an office job is the travel. I mean, there's obviously plenty of other benefits, but it is the travel. I couldn't think of anything worse kind of than starting your day with a 2 hour commute or an hour or even a half an hour commute, really.
2 minutes is too much.
2 minutes is too much. Even though I used to have an office just down the road, and I actually quite liked in the morning just a 5 minute walk to the office when it was nice and bright. Anyway,
Stroll's okay. You can watch
yes,
everyone having their coffees and talking on their phones while they're still
yeah,
walking along the pavement.
yeah, and I probably will go back to office life eventually because there's something about it I quite like. But the building I was in um, there was no window in my office. It was the only one left, and it was a really good price, so I took it. And there was no window, and it kind of was getting to me in the end. So I think next time I'd want something a bit more luxurious, something with
Enough.
some sort of sea view. I think would be quite nice.
That'll do.
Yeah,
Mine's
yeah.
okay. I've got a pretty decent view on. I'm not too bad.
So your the investment guy's not coming in now, is he?
But I mean bugger. I mean
That was no better. Yeah.
he might be in the room, but he hasn't come back to me saying he'll do it. So unfortunately we'll go without him, but I'll dob him anyway. I'll show you exactly what he was going to speak to you about.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
The benefit, I suppose, is I'm not selling you anything he would have been. So
Yeah. Do you know
that's
that's what you're saying about him at the start? It reminds me. Do you watch or are you aware of Alan Partridge?
know the name. Yep.
Oh, it's very funny. Steve Coogan is it's this kind of awkward TV presenter. And the other day he had a guest on his show called Rebecca Fluck. And he said, "Oh, so let's pass over to Rebecca Clunt." And she said, "No, that's Fluck." And he said, "Oh yes, I've seen what I've done."
Yeah.
Anyway,
dear.
very good, mate. So yeah, this trade that we've got in the market, I've re-entered up here. I've re-entered another short at this point overnight. There was a little breakdown of this trend line here. Very quick opportunity as it popped up again and just started to come down. So I took another short there. I've marked this line off because this is my midway point. This is what makes the two trades combined break even. I might just make this a fancy line instead. I never know what colours to put these in, but this area here is what makes it a break even. So you can see we're around about in that area. I suppose there's a bit of an issue because it could be the neckline of the head and shoulders, so it's likely to get some support there. But I kind of like what happened overnight. There seemed to be more emphasis. There's a couple of things that could have been driving this market. I haven't completely figured it out, if I'm honest, but a couple of things it could be, to my mind. Firstly, we had the trade deficit from the United States, which is normally just a orange folder, but the trade deficit was a standout figure, and apparently one of the worst trade deficits in many years. Seemingly, the US are importing more than they're exporting, and the tariffs on the US goods could be an issue with that. So I guess the number itself was probably not the thing that drove the market, but maybe people were a bit jittery about Donald Trump's reaction after we know that this is all about the China trade war and how trade wars could shape up. And who knows, that could be a catalyst for Donald Trump to actually do something a bit more extreme. So that's a possibility, and I suspect it probably was that. The other thing that I'm finding really interesting this morning is the news on the pound, which also could help this FTSE trade out if this pound can remain above these levels. Because I see that it has just broken out here, just along here. There's a little trend line, and it's just broken its way through there. So weekly pivots are obviously going to be a key area of contention, but there is a kind of inverted head and shoulders going on here as well. So there's a bit of a reversal pattern. Looks like we've just had a retest of these lows, which is maybe not to everybody's taste, and I don't particularly like it when it breaks down from a level of support. But that level of support is fairly weak, in as much that it's shallow and hadn't gone on that long. So I think this probably is where the trend support actually lies, and the fact that it's along this trend line is also pretty good. So we have seen some dollar weakness because of that trade deficit. We've seen that the pound strengthen somewhat. There was a vote in the Lords overnight, which effectively could shackle Theresa May, because it's voted to keep the UK in some kind of customs union. Now that won't happen unless the Commons put it through, unless the Commons accept it. But they want an amendment which would keep us closely tied to a customs union, and if it goes back to the Commons, then that's going to start going towards the Labour position. And there's got to be some point where Theresa May is just so unpopular because of her commitment to no customs union, no single market. There's got to be some point where you kind of go, she just she's not going to survive. As a leader, she just can't survive. So we might start to see the pound strengthen off the back of just a little bit of good news from the Lords. Obviously, we've got that really important vote next week, so we could start to see the pound strengthen into that. Other possible drivers for the day, certainly Mario Draghi is always a potential driver. Let me just check that. Yeah, is always a potential driver. So it could be that that Mario Draghi comes out and says something which disappoints, which I suspect he probably will do, and the market starts to move to the downside from that. The question I really have to have for myself is, if this is my midway point, a touch along this line in the first few moments of the morning will give me profit. And the question I have to have for myself is that, do I just take the profit because this trade has been so sticky? I can't really take this one off the table without taking this one off, because they kind of have to counterbalance each other and take some profit. Now I have to take I have taken some profit on the hedge anyway, so it will end up being an okay result in the end if the market does pop down to this point. But my view, it's a difficult scenario, because my view now is looking at the longer term time frames, i.e. the daily. Could be that this daily head and shoulders is just about still relevant and still in existence, and that could take us right back down to at least this neckline down here, so or at least this line down here. So it's possible this is an overall target, but this trade has been a bit of a headache. So the question I've got for myself is, can I see this through mentally as much as anything else, and do I really do I really want to play the market in that way? Because the problem is, take the trade off and it actually creates a headache of itself, because then you've got to try and get an entry lower again. Leave the trade on and it creates a headache, because there's an opportunity to take this a market that has gone against me and get it out at some profit. So I've got to make those decisions. I'm probably plumping for the latter, and just hope that there's another opportunity to get in. But right now I'm a little undecided on it.
Been leading your merry dance, hasn't it, in the last couple of weeks?
Really has, yeah. It really has. It's been an absolute headache ever since this point. And the worst aspect is that this was my entry here, and there was an opportunity to take a half decent amount of money off the table. It came down nearly 50 pips from the entry. So there was a decent chance to take some money down there, which I reneged on because it hadn't hit these lower lines, and I was looking for these lower lines to be tested. but if I'd managed to get this bit of profit, then I probably would have entered up. Well, it wasn't an amazing setup, but I may well have entered in this area anyway to look for some downside. So that there's really been, potentially two opportunities. And what I would now be in is probably a fail-safe mechanism where this particular trade would be at break even. And that's the problem really with it, is that trying to see this one come further to the downside is all well and good, but I don't really have a way to manage it so the trade is safe, until it gets to this point down here. This trade is really still at risk of popping forward and just kind of like clearing a double amount of money that's currently on the table. So I'm kind of stacked in a little bit. So I've got to make some choices, and I suspect that probably the choice will be to try and get out along this trend line, because as I say, that will be some decent profit from a trade that's given me a bit of a runaround, as you say.
Made you earn your money when you get it, that's for sure.
Yeah, yes, it will. Which this is the game sometimes, isn't it? Especially when you employ a hedging strategy. This is just some of the trials and tribulations of hedging rather than just taking stops.
All right. Well, it's all about ECB day today, of course, and they're going to raise interest rates, are they?
Oh, I think not only will they not raise interest rates, but we could be getting we could be getting a pretty negative looking report.
I don't think anybody is looking, and that includes the US, at raising interest rates anytime soon right now. I think the mumbling and the grumbling and the groundswell of opinion is that the economies in all sectors are struggling, and we may yet see easing. And what you said yesterday about the Aussie has proven to be the case around the traps this morning.
Yeah,
they're all talking about it now.
This is the thing about this trade as well. You'll have to explain the Caesar or nothing approach, Christo. I'm not sure what that is. I quite like the sound of it, but I'm not sure what that is. But yeah, explain it. This is the thing about the trade as well, is when the trade war seemed to be lifting somewhat, or certainly the kind of mood around trade war seemed to be lifting somewhat, the market did just pop forward. And this is the other thing about this trade, is that I'm trying to find a reason to stay in that is a little bit more concrete. And I suppose if I can remain within this trade by 12:45 UK time, so in about 5 hours, then I'm going to get a chance to see if the ECB statement is going to move this market. Because when it comes down to it, the European market is an important player when it comes down to FTSE 100 companies. So if ECB statement is really negative, actually, there's a press conference, which is going to be the important part, is at 1:30 UK. So that's 5.5, 6, about 5.75 hours away. So I might be waiting on that. But maybe the good thing on that is that I'm probably waiting on that. Hopefully at the lower end of this trend rather than the upper end. The ideal scenario, of course, would be to come down here, just take this one off, and then I can really manage the upper one, and I can just put that one at break even. So you never know. There's possible opportunities. Let's see how the market wakes up today and how it feels about the overall overnight news, and how it feels about the news today, and how it's going to potentially react to the news today. As I said before, the summation of what is likely to be said is fairly negative. So it could be a trade the rumor, sell the rumor if you like, and buy the actual news. Who knows? But I may have to use the ECB press conference as a little bit of a pivotal point in my day. But it's all going to depend on price action and levels that I get to. But yeah, you make a great point, mate. I do think it's interesting. Where we've had this euphoria after the trade war announcement, not really being anything specific, and then as some actual numbers came out, trade balance from the USA, the housing numbers from the RBA, plus the potential rate cuts from the RBA as well, then the actual news is fairly negative. So there might be an opportunity to remain in with this one. But
got a funny feeling the ECB statement will be one of somewhere it'll mention the noticeable downturn in global economic growth.
I think you're right. Yeah,
you can almost read that one in there.
Yeah, he likes that quote, that statement, doesn't he?
I think so. Anyways, kind of weird this morning. I was looking at the charts and I was looking and looking and looking. This is so obvious; it's too obvious. About the pound today, it looks like it's going to explode.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really
I completely agree. The pound looks like it's ready to pop to the upside. It's right on that daily pivot. Let's have a look at your chart on this. But yeah, I completely agree. I love the break of this trend line.
It's actually on all charts. Hang on 2 secs. Where are we?
I've given you the screen. You just need to.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Yeah.
Happy days. I can't see it yet. All right, I'm going to start with the trade that we're in, euro pound, and these are all the same. If you go and have a look at this scenario here,
we've still not got your views, mate.
Maybe I've got to do something. Maybe I do. Let me try. That doesn't work.
Yeah, you're right. I see that on the pound. Yeah, the pound euro does look like it's another point to go down, doesn't it? See, this really could help the FTSE out if we do get the movement here with the pound.
I can't seem to take control at all, man, for some reason.
I've given you control, but you don't see you're not showing your screen.
Despite the fact that I'm trying my little butt off. Here we go. This looks promising.
Now I get it, Christo. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Right. Yeah, the Romans were brilliant at losing. Absolutely brilliant at losing because they knew that ultimately they would win in the end. And yeah, I like that a lot. I like that. It probably is my approach. And in fact, that's probably every trader's approach, I guess.
Pretty much. Yep.
Sorry, Jeff, you go ahead.
You're right. No worries. So, okay, you've got my screen now. And this candle yesterday, we spoke about this candle, and I would dearly love to have scaled into this because it's such a bearish bar. But on this trade alone, it's really tough to take a candle that's so big when you reward so little trading into this support level. So for that reason, the answer was no. But then we got a second one, and this one is tradable because you've got a reasonable reward to risk here. It's not great, but it's reasonable. So also very, very tempting just to play that double top, if you like, or tweezer top, and just go short. Because I'm already in this trade and because the reward still isn't great, I felt there was better opportunities.
Could you blow your screen up a little bit, mate?
Can I go any bigger than that?
Yeah, could you go bigger, or is there no? Can you magnify that?
I've just changed to cable. So
that's it. Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So on cable, you've got exactly the same thing, of course. You've got a big bar there the day before yesterday, which I refused to trade. Why did I refuse to trade that? Probably on the basis of there wasn't enough reward again. So 108, it's about 1-to-1. And I've done exactly that today. I've traded that candle that I didn't trade yesterday. So that's how smart I am. Maybe I needed to see the second one to just absolutely give me the confidence that this has to go long. And like I said before, it's so obvious that I sniff something and I go, this can't be right. Something's wrong here. To be so obvious, I have to place a trade. So I have done that, and it's not in a great spot, to be fair. It's right on the weekly pivot, and the weekly pivot's been broken and not rebroken. So it is a dangerous trade to take. Probably, if I'm absolutely honest, I probably need to get my entry well above the weekly pivot. Am I going to do that, Ash?
Your entry above the weekly pivot. What, on the pound?
Yeah. I think I am going to do that because I don't think it's in a great spot. In fact, it's in a terrible spot. So I'm going to change that. So anybody who was in the morning show this morning, I hope they're in here and watching this because they're going to have a different entry to myself. I'm going to blow this up a bit more and get the high of that candle, which is 131.98. So I've got to go 132.04, I reckon. Should be my entry. So let's try that. I don't know if I can do that here. No, I can't. I've got to delete the order. So I'll do that. Delete the order. And I'm going to use the EA because it's a daily chart and I won't be awake to manage it. So the machine has to do it for me. Now, I'll split the risk on this because I'm also trading pound yen long. So I'm only going in very tiny here. And I'm going to 132.04. Essentially, I've just moved my entry by 5 pips. If I miss TP1 by 5 pips, I'll be pissed, won't I? Stop loss is going to be at 130.95. So 1.3095. And I won't take profit. What I will do is I'll take profit 1 at probably this area here, which will be 04.
You all right, Jeff? We seem to have lost Jeff. Hold on. I think we've lost Jeff. Can you guys, if you can hear me, can you post? I'm going to just change screens back. I think we've lost Jeff, but yeah, just give us a post if you're hearing the same, if seeing the same thing. Okay, so I'm just going to show you. He's gone. Okay, all right, he'll be back, I'm sure. So just going to have a quick look. I've got one ear in the news, one ear on the news, I should say, in the background. So I'm just going to continue to check that. We have got the pound. Now Jeff was talking about the pound. I really like this trade for some upside. You can see it's bouncing off this daily pivot here. You can see that it's come through the trend line. Jeff, I think, was looking to put an order above the weekly pivot. If I was going to enter this trade, I probably would try and enter on the top of the hour. So I'd want to see a close of this bar in the next 3 minutes. But if this bar closes here, I'd probably be quite keen to enter this to the upside. I wouldn't do that because I've got everything stacked into the FTSE, and the correlation is going to be a little bit too close for me. So we can still analyze it. Let me just double check what we have with the pound. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. A close here. So let me just bring in a shorter time frame. What's really good about this, and what's looking nice and healthy, we'll just flip through the time frames here. So we got a 4-hour chart, which looks right now that not only has it broken through a level of resistance, but also it looks to me like we have this area here as a potential area of resistance. It's a little bit scruffy, but we'll see it better on the hourly in a second. And it looks like we have a higher low off the a higher low and a higher high off the back of that. So this is the area here. Looks like there was some further resistance points. It's taken that out and now returning. So we have an uptrend effectively suggested on the hourly chart. We have a breakthrough of a trend line suggested here as well. And we have a daily pivot retest and fly from. So everything's shaping up for upside. It might be a little bit too obvious, I don't know. And on top of that, we have this bar. So in the next 2 minutes, if the price action ends up somewhere in this area, then this is going to be something of a low test bar. It might end up as a bit of a spinning top, which won't be as good. But if it ends up slightly in the green, giving us that low test bar, then that's also going to give us confluence with the hourly and everything else. Now it's probably worth checking a fib just to see whether that also comes into play here. We'll just check it from. This is the start of the trend. The daily pivot provided 50% retracement of the trend there. So there's quite a lot of evidence which would suggest this is a decent place. Let's do a little trend line from below as well. And there's also a little catch point there as well. So plenty of room as well to maybe put stops below that point. Certainly below this point would be very, very safe, and that would give anybody a chance to possibly make a decision if it did start to crash through that point. That would be my personal preference, is to put stops under here. Now, the reason that obviously I'm watching the pound as I always would is because of how this could affect the FTSE. Not a bad bar, not a bad bar at all. Let's just quickly check that on the hourly again. A little bit indecisive, but the fact that it's closed above this trend line is fairly positive. How could this affect the FTSE? Well, let's have a come back to the FTSE. The FTSE, I took a re-entry on at this area up here. So if the pound is to weaken, that bar's not particularly good for me on the FTSE, but if the pound is to weaken, then that would probably see the FTSE weaken as well. So some positive. Well, I don't think we're going to get positive news necessarily from the pound, but some positive price action with the pound would probably just cage this FTSE down a little bit. Obviously, it's having a decent go at hitting these highs again, and probably what I would do, I'd probably have to hedge on 2 accounts now if this did break through this point. If it breaks through, comes back to the daily pivot, maybe I've got a decision to make from there, but happy to let this just do its thing for a little while. We got the ECB press conference out later on, and let me just mark off my midpoint here. That could help things out somewhat. This is the midpoint, so this is where price needs to get to before I break even. Now I've got 2 trades in the market rather than 1. There we go. But as I say, I may have some decisions to make here if this market just wants to continue pushing to the upside instead of coming down. Certainly, the news early doors was suggesting some negativity. The first 15 minutes is always going to be kind of emotive, so we have to wait and see what certainly the first 5-minute bar suggests. One of 2 things could be happening here. It could be that the market is still pretty exuberant and quite happy to continue to trade this long, or it could be that that the buyers are just clearing out of the final throes of those buyers are clearing out, and the bears are taking advantage of a run to the upside just so they can start to sell off at a slightly better price. So I'm going to let that establish itself and do its thing. Do see the pound is just also having something similar go on. Oh, Jeff's just realised he's not in. He's on his way back. Yeah, the pound's having something similar going on. As we start the day, we've got aggressive kind of price action here on the 5-minute chart. In some respects, you could say that that's a little bit of a break of a support line there. So it could still go down here, but remember, we're really looking at the longer term time frames to try and get our lead on this, and the longer term time frames, in my mind, still look pretty good. So maybe let the excitement clear up a little bit and see if we can make some choices after the excitement has died down. Now, Jeff is on his way back. I'm just going to send him a quick PM.
Hello.
Ah, you're back. How you doing, buddy?
I'm totally mystified. How long have I been gone?
Good 5 minutes, I'd say.
Oh, shiver me timbers.
Yeah.
What was I talking about?
Well, the last thing we got was that you were long on pound yen.
Okay.
So
Did I give you the levels on that?
no, let's pass it back to you and we'll go through those.
All right.
There you go, mate. You got the screen back.
Cheers. Have I though? It's a big question. Should have.
Yeah.
Ready, set, go. No? Can you see my
Nothing
screen
yet.
or not?
No, not yet, mate.
Okay, maybe I have to do something.
Pound is on his way.
Is it, mate?
Quite possibly.
Okay. Still can't see my screen.
This is this. Here we go. Here's the pound.
Oh,
Just trying to edge itself forward here. I would say this is a decent area for a target as well, this weekly pivot. So if you are interested in a pound, that would be certainly a TP1 area. Let me just see if there's enough room there. Probably under.
On a small time frame, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I'm not getting in till after it, so we shall see. You going to take a trade, mate?
No, do you know what? Because I'm exposed already with the moves in the pound with the footsie, then there's not really anything for me to do here, but just enjoy the fact that the pound may go strong, so it might push my footsie trade in the right direction.
We shall see.
Yeah, let me pass back to you anyway.
Happy days. I had another trade as well.
Oh, great. Okay, you have the screen.
I was full of trades this morning. Got it? Okay. Pound yen. And the entry level on pound yen. It's a daily trade or
We've lost your screen.
Trade. Oh my God.
Lost the visuals on your screen.
I just love this platform. It's my very favorite thing. Let's see if we can reset. Anyway, whilst it's trying to do that, the levels on pound yen, entry is at 147.79. And
Yeah,
I'm going to take,
got your screen again.
take profit number one at 45 pips. I'm going to take a little bit more than half the trade off at that level, which is just here, just before the extreme high. And I'm going to leave it then, do nothing else until 550 pips go by and hopefully take us up to here. Okay, so we're risking 120 pips, hopefully for about a 4.5 to 1, nearly 5 to 1. We'll see. So here we go. Okay, so that's pound yen. The other trade I took this morning was euro dollar long, and euro dollar long may look to be a weird trade, and that's fine. I often get accused of taking weird trades on euro dollar, but it's not so weird if you consider that we've come to the bottom of this range. We've put in a big reversal bar. We've hit a resistance level. We've come off the resistance level, and now potentially we're putting in a higher low. So I may be a bit early on this, but I don't think euro dollar is going to be where it is this time tomorrow. It may be down here, mind you. It'll depend a lot on what happens with the ECB press conference.
Yeah, that's going to change. That's going to move the market, isn't it? Where's your position on this at the minute?
I'm long here.
Yeah.
As a break of the doji bar. I'm going to take profit just before this level, or just at this level. And I'm going to take half off, a little bit more than half off at that level. And then I'm going to take my second profit at the monthly pivot, where I'll move stops to entry at that point. And my target is up here just before the top of the range. at
Nice.
120 pips.
So you're already in
So
this, are we?
no.
Oh, okay. So this is the orders that you've got.
Yeah, nothing in the market at the moment, bar euro pound, which is still there. So these are all newbies, mate. If the pound goes nuts and the dollar goes nuts the other way, then I'll be okay today. If
Mm.
it's the reverse of that, I might have a problem.
Interesting, isn't it? There's no real news from the United States today. We've got one of the members of the Fed speaking later, but I think tomorrow when we get the non-farm employment change, maybe this is going to be a ticket item, which it hasn't been for a while, is it? But maybe we end up getting that as the ticket item for the week.
Yeah, look, I bit hard on NFP because it is still recognised as, I guess, the news event of the month. But gee, it's a long time since I've seen it really go towards making a trend or changing direction.
Mm,
I don't see it as the number it used to be, frankly.
yeah.
But as you say, if it's the only thing in town, then maybe the market will react to it. Of course, if it's as forecast, it probably won't. But if it's disparate, then maybe,
Yeah.
just maybe, we'll see it fly like the Watsons. Who are the Watsons?
Well, they who are the guys that invented the aeroplane?
No, they were the Wrights.
They were the Wrights. Yeah, that might be the ones you want to use. I don't know who the Watsons are. Oh, the
I don't
Watsons, the
either.
one that say goodnight to it about 50 times.
Yeah, they were Watsons, weren't they?
Oh no,
No,
they
they
were
were Waltons.
Waltons. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so
Almost, but not quite.
we got a long bias on the euro and long bias on the pound. The pound has decided to die a bit of a, well, it's not died a death. It's just decided to hold fire, not willing to give us any kind of commitment. And I wonder whether we might get that for a little bit of a period. I think the Draghi speech is going to be fairly significant. What happened overnight, and it was so interesting to watch overnight because I was in front of the charts. I've got an ATW account as well as this account that I trade for a friend of mine, and the ATW account doesn't have futures. You can't trade FTSE futures, so you end up trading the UK 100.
Yep.
And overnight, that particular chart, which was a bit of a shame, but that particular chart came down to the break-even point. Sorry, not the break-even point. The point where the first trade, which was entered, was back down to zero again. It was down flat. So there was profit made. I entered both exactly the same on both platforms, but that one stays open for an extra 3 hours. Where actually, is it longer than that? It might even be 4 hours. Where the futures closed down on this particular platform, the UK 100 stays open for an extra 4 hours on the ATW FSFX platform. So I was able to close that one down, but this one I haven't had that opportunity. So I've had to kind of just sweat this one out and let it kind of do its thing. But what was I mentioning that? There was a reason I was mentioning that. Oh, yes, because something was going on overnight. That's right. Because the market was really moving overnight. I can quickly show you if anybody's really that interested. But this is my
Go.
ATW account, and with this one, I was in similar kind of positions on this one. But as this one came down, so look at the gap. There was a huge gap, and then it came down beyond the lows of the day. So this was similar kind of thing. We had a similar hammer, but you can see on the UK 100, you actually get a clean head and shoulders pattern. We haven't broken through and closed above this high. The futures chart is different, but what was great about this overnight is that it gave me the opportunity to close both trades. I'm sure nobody's really that bothered for me. I could quite happily show you the account on that and show you how it closed both trades. One of them was a loss of $50, and the other one was a win of $450. So it kind of it did actually not only even itself out, but actually made a bit of profit in the end. But something was going on, and I don't know what it was, you know, because this market was continuing to move, and we got this gap down, and market continued to move, and you know, overnight it kind of it stabilized, and obviously now we've got the UK session in.
I don't think we've got your chart, mate.
Oh, sorry. No, you probably don't. There we go.
Gee, it'll be nice when we get a decent platform to work on.
Yeah, it sounds like James is sorting something out for us. I don't know what it is, but apparently he's sorting something out for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is the area here. So there was overnight there was this gap. Now the futures closed on this bar here, but the UK 100 continued straight down, and then we got. Or I got, I should say, an opportunity to come out of the trade here, as I say, $50 loss on one, and a 450 gain on the other one, because I entered, you know, the both of them the same. So one entry was up here, one entry was down here. That was the first trade, and I took that one off. Well, I took them both off. So that one gave me the opportunity to take the profit, but I haven't really had the opportunity on the FTSE futures, because whatever was driving this market was driving it after the close of the futures. But something was going on, and I don't know whether it was just just a reaction to the trade balance, or whether it was something more sinister, or whether it was just the Asian session was coming in and it was going to be a little bit more negative. So something was happening, but that hasn't really filtered so far anyway into this session on this morning for the FTSE anyway. So we'll see where we're at. I'll quickly show you the FTSE 100 and what we've are effectively having to put up with right now. The 15-minute chart gives us this this indecisive spinning top. You'd certainly say that was more bearish than bullish, driving to that daily pivot and then driving all the way back down again. But the tail on the bottom just gives it that spinning top feel about it. It's almost a doji in many respects. So indecision still at play here, mate, in the first 15 minutes, which is one of my most important bars, because it does give you a bit of a flavour of what may be happening, or what might happen in the UK session. And maybe what we're going to get is just continued kind of volatility in between these two areas. So we must basically stand and wait.
That's okay. Well, I'm standing and waiting for entries. You know, I can't do too much more. I've got 3 orders in the market. I just don't really think I need to do too much more, to be fair. There are a couple of things that, and Thursdays are like this normally. There are a couple of things that kind of get you interested, but they're not there either. So I don't know. I think I'll just sit pat and wait for these to enter. Otherwise, otherwise we'll just cruise along.
Same with the pound. You know, this is the pound. The same indecisive bars, kind of starting on this first 15 minutes of the day. You know, as we've both said, we love the setup here on the pound. It looks really good. It doesn't. It looks like there's at least 2 or 3 different points of confluence here, and I'll bring forward what I was looking at a moment ago, and maybe make a comment on this. But we've got obviously the break of the trend line. But what I quite like about this, I was saying to the guys, mate, is that we've got a break of the daily pivot, which has almost started a new trend. You know, we got a break and a retest of the trend line and daily pivot on the hourly, giving us this higher low. So you know, things appear to be shaping up. Obviously, we've got to kind of look at longer term timeframes to establish if we have an area of interest. I don't want that color. I want that one. And it certainly looks like that. When we look at the last couple of days, push down, right back up. In fact, you were talking about this, weren't you? These lows down here on the daily chart. So the daily chart looks like it's at least attempting with some gusto to hold up and hold in here. Then we get these short-term setups. I mean, regardless of whether this works out, that is a setup. And then there's also, as I said before, an inverted head and shoulders with a left shoulder there. Looks like a complex looking head, and then a right shoulder forming around here. So I think there's a few things and a few signs and signals that this is certainly the desire for this is to pop. but whether it does or not is another question. And really, it's not that we're looking for every trade. We're not anticipating every trade will win, but when we're looking at certain setups, this one would certainly qualify, wouldn't you say?
It absolutely does, and that's the one thing that concerns me. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
Everything is standing out like the proverbial dog's balls,
Yeah.
and when that happens, I question it, and I think, why is that the case? But I've got to trade it
Yeah.
because it's there, and if I miss it, then I'm an idiot.
Yeah, it's almost worse, isn't it? It's almost worse to ignore it. Yeah. I completely
But
agree with that.
I have a respect for the market when the market tells me that there's something glaringly obvious here, and for all and sundry to see. If I can see it and it's obvious, but it's not obvious to the market, then I'm happy. But if it's obvious to everybody, it does give me just a little bit of caution. So I've got a pink flag waving. It's not a red flag; it's just a pink flag.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm just trading it at reduced risk.
And you've put your entry above the weekly pivot here, right?
I have, yes.
Yeah.
I have, because I think, and that may not work out for me, but I think the majority of the market will be in before me. And if they're wrong, then I may well be saved the embarrassment of going in the opposite direction. It may not work that way, but we'll see. That's my thought process anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
I try always to outthink the herd, if you like.
Yeah.
And that's what
You're trying to do.
That's my whole methodology.
Yeah.
Is try to stay away from what everyone else is doing to a certain degree. I mean, sometimes it's just so obvious that you have to do it.
Yeah.
And this is one of those, really.
Well, it absolutely is. I mean, just a quick kind of comment on some of the news that's floating around today. We got Huawei in conflict with the US government because it's talking about its treatment of Huawei being completely unjust, and we know that what the importance of Huawei is to the Chinese and the Chinese government and the Chinese market. So I wonder whether that might also put some tensions back on the table with a story like that going on. We've obviously got a few Brexit updates, but not a whole bunch, and I guess that's why things are just a little bit on hold. But yeah, just to talk a little bit about Huawei. So it's filed a lawsuit against the US government over a ban that restricts federal agencies from using its products. That's pretty big, isn't it? To kind of to be
federal agencies from using Huawei's products.
Yeah, I mean it's the fact that a company like Huawei is suing a government is the thing that I think is so significant, and it's something that, from what I've read, is not going to, there's no way that they could win. But the fact that they are taking them on, that may well have some significance.
Okay, so this is what this is going back a couple of months now, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's they're restricting the use. The US are restricting the use because they are concerned with they're concerned with national security. I guess they're basically saying that Huawei are using, or that the Chinese government are using Huawei as a way to infiltrate information from the US,
which of course became part of the trade wars negotiations. That was high on the agenda.
Absolutely.
All the IP stuff was being bandied about where it shouldn't have been.
Yeah, and this is interesting. I mean, the Huawei chairman is saying that the US Congress has repeatedly failed to produce any evidence to support its restrictions on Huawei products. We are compelled to take this legal action as a proper and last resort. So, we know that the US government or the Canadian government, at the instruction of the US government, detained the daughter, was it? I can't remember who it was now, but it was a connection with Huawei, and the Chinese government got involved in that. I think she's connected somewhere along the line. It's one of those things that obviously when the story's going on, we're all over it, but it's soon kind of forgotten about some of the absolute kind of micro details of the story. But I know that that there is tensions anyway between Huawei and the United States. So this thing can only, and those tensions are linked as well with United States and Chinese government, as you said, with the trade wars. And certainly, if Huawei are producing products that give the Chinese government a way to spy on the US, then the Chinese government are going to do what they can to support Huawei. I would suggest so. That might be another. That could be another little bit of a torch-lit paper under the trade wars. Who knows? But that's certainly one of the major stories of the day. The other is
because Christo's got a good question in there. In my opinion, Christo, it's because he says they're always going well.
Yeah.
There's no negotiation that he's ever been in, to my knowledge, that he says is going badly.
No.
Until he walks out.
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? Part of the shadow. They might be actually. I don't know. Are they part of the shadow negotiations? Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure about that. And this is the thing. I only really get time to find a little bit of some of the detail to do with some of this, but not to trawl through every single news item. But I'm sure if I did, then there may well be something. It may be veiled. It might not be specifically naming Huawei as part of the negotiation, but it might be veiled somewhere else. But you're absolutely right. Why is he always saying that he's going to walk away? And Donald Trump is very good at saying things are great, as Jeff says. And you hear him talk about how amazing people are, and then all of a sudden they're impeaching him. So it's he doesn't have many friends, but certainly the way he speaks, he's surrounded by people that absolutely love him.
Yeah, and one week it's great man, outstanding individual, best person on the planet.
Yeah,
and then a week later, rogue. Absolutely, never liked that man.
I always said he was a wrong un. Yeah. And this is the thing about Donald Trump. How do you trade around it? I mean, it's just he's so volatile at any point. I can't look at this FTSE 100 trade and be trading it off the fact that Donald Trump might say something, because it's just so, obviously it's guesstimate, but in actual fact, I probably could trade it around the fact that Donald Trump's going to say something, because it seems to be the Trump factor is as important as the GDP number from the United States or the Chinese from China at the minute. It's just a crazy situation that we live in, and a crazy world that we live in, where some of these comments can really change the course of markets in quite the same way, or somebody outside the kind of financial district, if you like, can change it in quite the same way. We know Draghi's got the power to do it, and Bernanke used to, and Powell obviously does now, and potentially Carney. But for a president to have so much sway so often, I think is the key, is quite unusual.
It is unusual, but it's also unusual to have a president that actually does what he says he's going to do. And that, I think, is probably the difference, because if he does say something, then it's not rhetoric, it's not BS. He's not blowing hot air. Or he does that as well, but generally, if he makes a statement that this is going to happen, he'll pursue that until it does.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why he holds so much weight.
Yeah. Chris is asking, should we buy investment banks because of the churn from all the ups and downs? And I don't think the charts themselves express a reason to buy investment banks, but I would say that investment banks that look in areas of interest, like we were talking about yesterday with renewable energies, I think that they would be actually a really good position to put your money, personally, because it means that you're not having to kind of do a lot of the minute detail of analysis that they would do. But if you've got an investment company or bank which is exposed to an area that you think is going to take off, I think AI, I think robots, I think robots maybe even coming into the workplace. I think renewables and whether it's electric or whatever it is, obviously that kind of opens up a whole new world. But I think looking in those particular areas for investments would be a pretty decent strategy and a decent decision. And crypto, I don't know about this crypto thing. Oh, the JP Morgan crypto is different, isn't it? They've got their own cryptocurrency. We haven't talked about
thing. It's not a public release, is it?
I don't think it is. Let's have a quick look on the crypto charts and see what's been going on recently with that.
Then I'll take you through, after the bottom of the hour, I'll take you through what this chap was going to talk about.
Yes.
That was invited to join us and hasn't bothered to come back to us. And it's to do with small cap stuff. So probably the product. Had we done this yesterday, the stock went up 10.5% today. So
that's amazing.
Our timing might be wrong.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll have a look at the chart on that. So Bitcoin is the first one, maybe the only one we'll look at, but we'll see. Yeah, it looks like it's fairly close to an important level there anyway. I'd want to see Bitcoin trading above this trend line, which is good because I still think there's a risk for Bitcoin to the downside. Let's just see what pattern we have here. It's not that easy to draw really because there's only one touch no matter where we put it. So we're going to have to go for the longest, which means that we're looking at this falling wedge, which could have positive connotations here. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah. Well, it looks like Bitcoin may well almost double in price if it gets through this line. And I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting on that actually. I would use Bitcoin as a benchmark and as a barometer for everything else. So yeah, maybe JP Morgan could be of interest if Bitcoin comes up. I don't think JP Morgan as a company to buy on cryptos alone would be a great move. I have to say, I think it needs a little bit more than that. Looks like well, I guess it's more like a double bottom really on that. This is Ethereum. Yeah, again, they just need to get through some levels, and then we could start looking at something which would be connected. I still like the thought of what was the stock we were talking about that produces Bitcoin, that writes the coding for it. Nvidia. I still like Nvidia as a potential way to play this. Yeah, and I think the robotics as well, mate. I'm interested in that particular area. The renewable. So let's have a quick chat about this this stock, Jeff, because I'm presuming it's still pretty relatively cheap.
Yes, 58 Australian cents at the moment. Okay, I'll just whiz through the 30-minute charts before I do that and see if there's anything exciting. What we got, euro pound. Let me have a look. Just very, very quickly. You've lost my screen again, haven't you?
No, you're back.
No, okay. This is interesting. Euro pound. If this were to be a bearish decisive bar, maybe an engulfing bar here, and retesting this level here, that's a pretty bullish sign. I know a bigger bar doesn't necessarily give a bullish sign, but in my vocabulary it does. So euro versus the pound going okay in the last hour by the looks of things. Euro itself has broken resistance, and I'd like to see this pull back here to retest this trend line and the daily pivot before it actually took off. Don't want to be taken in on this bar. That's ugly. Hate that. So I want to see a pullback before we get taken into the daily trade. But as far as the 30-minute chart's concerned, retest of that trend line, please. That would be good. Cable, just sitting pat, isn't it? Not showing its hand in any real way, shape, or form. Just hanging above the daily pivot there, not doing too much. When do the fireworks begin? Good question. I think they will today. I really do. I think we're going to see something. But at the moment, she's all quiet on the Western Front. Same with pound yen. Aussie's come off this trend line and kind of double whammied the daily pivot. Bearish signal, but I like the fact that we've got a nice double bottom sitting here. I'd like to come down to here somewhere and get a significant higher low. Don't want to trade long from here, but if I got the opportunity with a nice higher low here, that may well be what I choose to do. It's pretty tough with the Aussie. It's under a lot of pressure, but that's the way it's setting up for me at the moment. No trade yet, of course. Euro yen, kind of rangy, isn't it, in the last 24 hours? That's okay. I don't mind that. Let's see. In fact, we'll put a ring around it, shall we? We'll start about here somewhere. And that's about the range, I would imagine. So if we get up the top of this range, I'll start looking for reversals and a lower high, trade back to the bottom. Usual scenario, nothing changes really for me. It's always the same. EuroCAD, didn't speak about this. We tried to trade this short yesterday. That was a great call. Obviously, we didn't get taken in. We were trading this bar here, and no entry. So that's just Gonski. Of course, the CAD news was the catalyst for this to just take off a second time, and that's exactly what it's done. CAD news not good. That's somewhat interesting. Dollar yen on a 30-minute chart. What do we got here? If I can move my little sign there that you guys probably can't see. Something's upsetting Angus. I don't know what. Just bear with me, guys. Oh, Angus, stop it.
I mean, to be honest, the day wouldn't be the day without Angus. He's got to make a little bit of an. It's a bit like what are they? You have like a regular guest on a show.
Yeah, making his little cameo for the evening.
Yeah.
He's a lad. There's no doubt about him. This one's kind of gone. I was thinking, okay, if we break this level, then we'd certainly go to this level. But that's as far as I can see. I can't see past here. There's nothing telling me that there's a level up here. So, cheers, mate. That's kind of a bit of a concern. Otherwise, there's probably an entry above that bar. Unfortunately, I just can't see the level that it's got to go to, and that's the problem I have. So yes, I can see upside, but I can't see the level it's got to go to. So that becomes an issue, and I'm not going to trade it. Euro Aussie for me. Okay. Could be clear out here. Could have taken all the stops above the last month's monthly pivot. We could be on our way back. If it comes back inside here and then retest the daily pivot, let me just make that a little clearer. So if we come back inside the range, which is the rectangle, of course, and then retest the daily pivot area, that would be a nice little entry short for me. Targets one here. Maybe take a bit more here. Certainly move your stops. and the big targets down there. That's the 4-hour chart on Euro Aussie. Could we trade it to there? Not that interested, I'd have to say. There's really nothing available in terms of confluence until around about this level. So whilst it might be a nice target, I don't see a way into it. So no, not for me right now. I don't know why I've got Aussie Kiwi on. Oh, that's probably why, because I've got a range. That's why I've got one. So we've got a little double rejection of the bottom of the channel, and then a higher low. Interesting. It's a bit tight on it. There's not a great reward on offer there, is there really? I can see that happening, but it's not really that compelling if you've got this resistance level as well that you're trading straight into. I'll let that one go also. I don't know why I've got so many pairs this morning. It's ridiculous. Aussie CAD, if that comes back underneath here and retests it, there's a short on offer. Aussie yen, double bottom, higher low, trading straight into the pivots, not for me. And that one doesn't interest me at all. That's a little analyzer. So no entries, mate. Let's talk about what we were going to talk about. We're trying to talk about yesterday with old matey.
Christo, so this is the thing. I'm going to have to bow to your knowledge on this. I haven't done anywhere near enough research on this, but Christo's saying Panasonic being the industry leader in robotics, working with Samsung and Tesla. China also has 2 significant battery manufacturers. I'd like to know who they are. Hearing that car manufacturers will have to buy from Tesla because their battery tech is way ahead. Do you know what I'd like to know? Who makes their battery? Who is their battery tech company? So it probably wouldn't be Tesla that I'd be interested in. I'd like to know who makes the batteries.
We're kind of on point here with this little number. If I can find the dash thing.
What's the name of the company again, mate? I can't remember.
I'm just about to show you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll bring the whole lot over. There it is there. So if you want to know anything about this company, it's all on their website, talgaresources.com. And it tells you all about them. It gives you all the reports to the ASX, all that sort of stuff. There's the stock. There was today. Went up 10%, 10.5% today. Interesting. But the most interesting thing, that's a really good website. It's got everything you need to know about Talga, to be fair. So
yeah, they have had a huge plump to the upside, haven't they?
What are they into? They're into a thing called graphene. Now, this is Graphene's website. Okay, it's not Talga's website.
Can I just ask, well, what indice do they trade on? Do you know?
ASX.
ASX. Okay, I don't know if I got that. Let me have a look. Okay.
And their code is, wow. Their code is, let me see, TLG. TLG on the ASX. Okay.
Okay, great.
So they're into this thing called graphene, which is a graphite derivative, as I understand it. And I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to have a look at this or research it too much, but it is incredible if you believe what you're reading, in that it conducts electricity like 1,000 times better than copper and all those sorts of things that we've been using forever and ever and ever. So I would highly recommend that you read all about graphene. It seems to be a product that is very much on the lips of people we've just been talking about, that is battery manufacturers and the like. These people, Talga, have been nominated for a prestigious innovation award for graphene-infused concrete. What does that mean? How about this little number? they're saying that they can infuse concrete with this product, graphene, to conduct electricity on the road. So your electric cars, which is what we were talking about yesterday, have an electric recharging lane.
Oh, wow.
Where they're recharging whilst they're driving. So they don't have to stop. And hence they can drive from wherever we said yesterday, from
I see.
Timbuktu to wherever.
That's a great I love that. Concrete that can charge electric cars while they drive. And it is that is amazing, mate. I like that a lot. Are they the only company in this particular area?
Look, I haven't read enough. I've only found out this company's name today in this afternoon, because this dude that was supposed to come on was going to tell us all about this. And I had to do just a quick bit of searching. He didn't even divulge the company's name. I just had to work it out for myself.
Is he likely to come on?
Not now.
Ever?
Oh, he probably could if he wanted to, but all he's doing is selling his stock reports, right? So he's
oh, I see. So he's not part of this company.
No. But what we might do, now I know who the company is, we might talk to this guy next week. Not that guy, but one of the dudes from this company.
Yeah.
And they can tell us all about the tech and how it works and what their plans are going forward. But they've also got where's this one I was looking for? It's to do with batteries.
I suppose it depends on whether they can get get a contract, doesn't it? Because the idea is amazing. I'm just looking at their statistics. They've got no PE ratio as yet. All we've got is price to book and shares outstanding.
There's a whole lot of questions to answer in this. There's no question. Or there's a lot of questions, not least of which is, we've still got to produce electricity. So you have to charge that road surface. It has to come from somewhere. It just doesn't suddenly produce electricity. It carries it, but it doesn't produce it. So that part of the equation is not solved. But this graphene thing is apparently on the huge notice boards of all the battery manufacturers, because it's such a great conductor of electricity, but it also apparently stores it at a far better rate than lithium ion. So,
right.
Again, I've just done a very, very brief overview of what this is. Lots of questions come to mind. How much graphene is in the world? How much does it cost to produce it, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
So it's a long way from being a fait accompli that this company's going to go absolutely gangbusters.
Where are their offices?
In Perth, mate, Western Australia.
Because it's one of those that you'd kind of want to go there, wouldn't you? To the actual office and talk to the guys, see who's running it, see what the management team's like, and really kind of, as it sounds like it. Well, it is obviously it's a very, very new company, very young company, but being in the position they're in, they'll probably be at a decent point to have an open door for most people that want to go and talk to them. And that's something that I'd be kind of interested in, is actually going along and having a chat to the guys face to face, seeing where they work and meeting the management as well to see what kind of people they have.
Well, come on over, mate.
How close are you to Perth?
Oh, that's about a 4.5 hour flight, something like that.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Big country, Australia, mate.
I might be on a plane in about an hour. I might see you tomorrow.
There you go.
I've got the weekend off.
So anyway, do a bit of research on that, guys. I'm not, and by no means this is a trading or investing recommendation. It's something that's just come to my notice, and it's very, very interesting. If they can actually pull this off, and they do hold the worldwide patent to that, and all the questions that obviously come to mind can be answered, and they can actually get it into production. Wow.
Yeah.
They won't be worth 58 cents. That's for sure.
That's right, and you know, the only digging that I can find on this. Obviously, my the software that I use is not nowhere near ready yet well, it doesn't actually give me any ASX stocks anyway. But the only thing I've got is if you go to Bloomberg, you get a little bit of data. You can see there's nothing to report here. There's nothing in this that we could really use for information. Tells you a little bit about Telga Resources down here, a little bit about the board of directors as well. So and the board members and the executives. So I wouldn't mind reading maybe something on that. But this is the key aspect: income statement. Nothing that we can use. Not even a quarterly data is available at this time either. So we don't have too much to go on. Cash flow starting to look better. I mean, it's this is about all we've got to go on right now. Operating margins aren't yet great, but and I guess this is why, as you say, 58 cents a share is a lovely price to try and get into. Might not be a bad idea to get hold of a few shares here at least.
Well, as I said, I'm not recommending it. That's by no means my job. I'm just a poor old currency trader, mate. I don't know about stocks in the least, to be fair. But if I'm thinking low cap and penny type stocks, then
Yeah,
why wouldn't I be thinking something like this?
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, they probably will be declaring, Christo. The question is,
Yeah,
maybe,
on their website, they've got all their statements to announcements, ASX announcements are all in here.
yeah, they probably just don't. They're probably a bit sort of new to have it on things like Bloomberg as yet, but I'm sure we could do some more digging actually using their website.
Yeah, I mean, this can't be wrong. It has to be right.
Mm.
That's as presented to the ASX. So,
well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because obviously with these younger companies, absolutely, mate. Yeah. There's lots of digging to be done here, but
absolutely.
The problem is with these young companies is that you don't know how trustworthy they are. Because they can actually file some dodgy tax reports, and when you go to something like ShareScope, it kind of gives you a category for companies that have a less trusted accounting aspect to their product. So this is why going over and meeting them and speaking to them face to face might be the only way to play sort of something like a penny stock. If you're in the area, then I would suggest that wouldn't be a bad idea.
We'll send PH over there. He's in Western Australia quite often in Perth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll send PH to do some research. I guess Mikey's in Melbourne, isn't he?
Yeah, he's probably 3 hours away.
So yeah, maybe we'll send some of the team to go and do it. But I'm going to do some more research on it anyway.
Yeah, as I say, it's something worth having a look at.
Yeah.
But by no means am I recommending it. That's for
sure. Just finally, let's probably ready to wrap up, mate. I've got nothing really to do on the FTSE 100. It's just kind of meandering back and forth between my new entry and the new midpoint. So there's not really anything I can do here, but just sit and wait, see if this head and shoulders pattern eventually works out. I suppose we just have a quick run of that just to explain it. I am. Let's look at this on an hourly instead. Easier to see. I'm just going to let this market develop, see what happens with it. There may well be a hedge. The midpoint is just about here. That's the midpoint. So that's going to be the point where both trades effectively profit from this one, and the loss from that one will cancel each other out. Anything below that line is going to be some money in the bank. Anything above this line is going to be a question of what to do next. This is I think a really good lesson for everybody. You know, as I said, looking at the first 15-minute bar does actually express quite a lot. And when we saw this first 15-minute bar open, it was suggesting that there's such a lack of commitment of direction that that this was likely to happen, where we kind of get caught in a bit of a range. Now, this range isn't just because I've got my entry there. Obviously, the reason that we got that particular range as it is because there is a daily pivot set up there. So right now, the daily pivot needs to be taken out for more upside. And this low needs to be taken out, obviously, for more downside, because that does give us this this head and shoulders pattern. So the head and shoulders pattern breaks down. We're probably looking at something like this, I guess. That's not our neckline, so let's get rid of that. We're looking at something like this. It's going to be a fairly shallow looking head and shoulders in from what we've got here. Might just get us right back down to the previous pivot, a breakdown. So that might well bring us down to that area. Now, obviously, it's going to be a bit of a timing issue, and it could well just about meet this trend line if it breaks down at the right particular time. So that suggests that later today, sorry, that's not the trend line. Forget that, it's not the trend line. What I need is to mark that off and find what's here. That means breaking that trend line down. I don't know how likely that'll be. Let me just see what the yeah, that actually gets me right back to the neckline of the previous head and shoulders. So it'd have to break that down, of the longer term head and shoulders on the daily chart. It'd have to break that down to really collapse here. So maybe the weekly pivot could be a second target. We take this area out. I'll probably look at the weekly pivot as a second target. But right now the market is very much on hold, and I suspect not. I don't know this for any. With any kind of certainty, but I suspect it's probably going to be a market which is waiting for information from Mario Draghi rather than anything else. Possibly a level along here. Not sure. Don't like that line, but yeah, we're probably waiting for Mario Draghi, which is not the best position to be in. I'd be much happier if we were clear of at least my midpoint line. So I could just allow maybe some stops to be put in place at that point before the meeting and the speech was due. But I think I'm just going to be sitting and waiting on this for right now, mate. I don't see any really good detail with the pound either. Hasn't really moved this morning, so again could be waiting for something to turn up the heat on the pound. I guess it's a good sign that it hasn't collapsed. We've got the EU saying that Theresa May's deal is a no-go right now, and we've got some meetings going on with the Labour leadership and some Tory MPs talking about the Norway style option, which I've been talking about for quite a while, is the option that I think we probably will end up with. But that is complete guesswork. So they're talking about that. The EU are saying right now there's no deal. The Attorney General, Geoffrey Cox, has really not been able to push the confidence over the line, but he's been sent back there. The Attorney General for the UK has been sent back to the EU to try and make sure that the backstop has got a time limit on it, a legally binding time limit on it, but he hasn't been able to do that, which takes Theresa May's deal into treacherous waters, because the ERG didn't back it the first time without assurances on the backstop. So the question is, why would they back it again now? And the only reason that they would back it is because they want us to at least leave. But they might take the gamble that we might not leave at all if they don't back it. But we'll see what happens with that. So not really a great deal, except for the fact that her deal seems to be failing and probably dead in the water, and that could signal another defeat next week. So I'm not sure why that would boost the pound to the upside, but maybe it will, because the chance of a soft Brexit starts to increase. Maybe that's the way that people are reading this.
Well, interestingly, this morning, it's all about the euro, as far as I can tell, and it's the mover and shaker in terms of kind of volatility on the 1 minute chart, but it's showing signs that it does want to go somewhere. And as you said before, we've got to wait really on what comes out of the mouth of Mario Draghi a little bit later. But there's movement in the market. This is euro pound, and I did say if this does close in this area here, or at least test this area here, then I would look to trade this long, dependent on how that candle looks in 2 minutes' time, and I'll come back to it. If it looks like that, there's probably an entry long here. Euro was looking very, very similar, coming back to retest this area, but it's failed. At this point, it's failed to do that. Euro yen, not so much, because I don't have a confluence. I've got a daily pivot, but I don't have a confluence. What else we got? Euro CAD's gone too far. I'm not interested in that. Euro Aussie, it's in the middle of nowhere. So that's probably about it. Let's take a look at euro pound, shall we? Okay, we might not have much time to do this.
I think we've got a market in a bit of confusion here, mate. It doesn't really know what it wants to do, does it?
I think it wants to go along the euro.
Apart from that, it wants to go long the euro. Okay, maybe it's going to buy into the release, is it?
Maybe. Let's see. The high here is 85.94, so we'll go 85.96, 97 actually. 85.97. We'll put our stops at just under here. That's 85.84, so 85.82. And we'll place the order. Buy limit? No, it's not to buy stop. There we go. All right, so entry's just here. Oh, the stop got down a long way. Oh, that's all right. That's where I put it. 85. What did I say it was? 94? 95?
I think I heard 94.
94. Of course, we may soon find out. Let's go with 94. Okay. All right, so there it is. If you want to have a look at that one and follow it, entries at 85.94 and the stop loss is at 85. 85. Why doesn't it show me? Oh, it doesn't show me my entry level either. It's a pain, really. 85.82 is the stop loss. So that is me. That makes order number 4 for the day.
Great.
Let's hope 2 or 3 of them get home.
Great, good, mate. Okay, amazing. 4 orders in the market, so that's given plenty of opportunity for trading. I'm sticking in with this FTSE, and hope everybody else has got their trades either safe or nicely in the market. You are very welcome, Christo. And it is the last show of the week, so everybody enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your weekend too, buddy. And
yeah, I've got 2 more to go.
Oh, you got 2 more to go? Yeah, okay. 2 more shows to go. So I will be talking to you again next Monday. Same trade time, same trade channel, and we'll see if we can do it all again and make some money next week as well.
All right, mate. Have a great weekend. Everybody that's been with us, have a great weekend as well. We look forward to catching up with you in the new week.
Good stuff. See you later, guys.